Welcome to greeneconomy.tv. I'm your host, Byron McDonald, and facilitator. Today on the show, we have head of whiskey at Distell, Andy Watts. He will be going in conversation with our publisher at Green Economy Journal, Gordon Brown. But before I go ahead, as I say each week, Green Economy TV provides insights and intelligence on all sustainability related matters. Hi, gents. Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Hi, Byron. Hi, Andy. Welcome, Andy, to the show. And Byron, nice to see you as always.
Yeah, looking sharp. All of you, you both are looking sharp. Even sharper with the whiskey behind you guys.
Thank you, Larry.
How are you guys doing, though?
Yeah, great. Under the circumstances, it's another day, another challenge, but yeah, very, very fortunate, blessed, and yeah, looking forward to a great Christmas with the family.
Nice.
Yeah, no, 100%. And all good from my side, Byron. Looking forward to, as you say, wrapping it up. I'm on my way up the East Coast to Nature's Valley. I've just heard, of course, that the beaches are closed. So we'll have to take maybe another bottle of Baines Cape whiskey with us and just enjoy that extra around the fire chat.
That sounds good. You have Andy on that side to contact. But as I say each week, I'm going to give the show over to Gordon. He will be asking all the relative questions. So Gordon, if you'll do the pleasure, I'll give it over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And yeah, just once again, great to have you on the show, Andy. And yeah, we're very curious and interested to hear about all the great stuff that you guys are doing there. Indeed, at James Sedgwick's Distillery. Before we go into some of the other questions, I was wondering if you could perhaps just give us a quick overview of the brands and perhaps a little bit of the history. Where does the James Sedgwick Distillery, when was it founded? What are your key brands? Perhaps just give us a quick overview if you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah, no problem, Gordon. Well, the James Sedgwick Distillery was founded in 1886. James Sedgwick was a seafaring captain who used to sail around the Cape on their way to the east to do business. In 1850, he decided to stay in South Africa in the Cape. Started a business in 1859, selling fine wines and tobacco. He actually died in 1872. His two sons continued the business and bought the distillery in 1886. It is the only commercial whiskey distillery on the continent of Africa. That's all 54 countries. There is nobody else making whiskey on a commercial scale. There are quite a few craft distillers which are starting to pop up, which we welcome. It's giving South Africa a bigger footprint in the world whiskey market. And yeah, the major brands which come out of this distillery are Three Ships and Baines Cape Mountain Whiskey. And then we also have other brands which are proudly South African, which are Harrier and Knights. So yeah, four main brands which form the backbone of our operations here.
Excellent. And I mean, I think most of us, or many of us, are quite familiar, certainly with the Three Ships whiskey brand, and more subsequently with the Baines Cape whiskey brand. We were chatting off air, just about our association or our recognition of the name Baines and how it's associated with all these wonderful passes that him and, as you pointed out, his father engineered, and of course. With your distillery being based there in Wellington at the bottom of the Baines Cliff, what a great name to associate with the whiskey, and what a great brand. And I know that the Three Ships whiskey has won many awards from point of view of the whiskey quality and the taste and so forth itself. But I want to talk about a different award that the James Sedgwick Distillery won not only this last year, but the year before, and that is the Sustainability Leadership Award, which was awarded at the Business Intelligence Group's 2020 Sustainability Awards. Tell us a little bit more and talk to us about what exactly was recognized in this award, i.e., what won you the award ultimately. So if you could perhaps give us that background, please.
Well, the business intelligence group it's a group of voluntary selected business leaders who, across all industry sectors, have created a platform to recognize and reward industries and individuals for their vision, creativity, persistence, all the hallmarks which are found in the world's leading companies and individuals around the globe. Uh, this competition celebrates, in our particular case, initiatives and projects across sustainability and our approach to whiskey making. So, we have five specific, let's say, drives which head up our sustainability, and yeah, they've recognized that now on two years. 2019 and then again 2020, and then also this year at the World Whisky Awards in London, the distillery received the award of the Global Icon Sustainable Distillery of the Year. So yeah, the last 2 years, our efforts over many years have started to bring fruition.
Well, it's great that that this recognition is coming not only to the distillery, but in a sense, it's actually recognizing business leadership in South Africa, and specifically, of course, in the business that you're in that distillation business. So what a pleasure and congratulations on that achievement. But it's interesting to me. I mean, you don't always think of distilling whiskey and sustainability in the same sort of context often, and I guess that's. I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't do that, but maybe it's just because the business is not inherently impactful. I mean, it's not like mining or industry and these sorts of things, but of course it does have impact, and you have taken the time and the effort over many years, as you've said, to address these. Perhaps just give us a sense of what was the driver inside the organization to tackle these issues and to look at these issues and actually invest in them. So who's the individual perhaps behind it? What is the corporate thinking behind it?
Well, our first efforts in sustainability date back to the early 1990s. I became manager of the distillery in 1991, and I had the group primary manager at that stage was a gentleman called Jan Leroux, and he was the driving force behind our initial journey into sustainability. And that was Wellington had a tannery at that stage, and it was known by three names: Wellington being the town's name, and then Hellington in summer and Smellington in winter, because of the smell from the tannery coming in with the northwest wind. And Jan had kind of inherited the distillery and realized that we were using evaporation dams as well from the municipality at that stage. So we were also possibly opening ourselves up to not being seen in a very positive light. So we looked at anaerobic digestion of our water as early as the early 1990s, and invested in a plant in 1995, which is still operational. And that was our first real endeavor into sustainability. So yeah, in the old Stellenbosch Farmers Winery days, before the merger with Distillers to form Distell, and Jan Leroux was the guy who led that drive in the beginning.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for that. And so, just so we understand, I mean, could you perhaps just talk us through the process of distilling whiskey? Where do you see these key impacts or the big impacts coming in? Talk us through some of the interventions. You mentioned two there. Perhaps just give us a little bit more insight into perhaps 3 or 4 of the key interventions that you've brought into your distillery, because that also just helps us to understand the impact of other distilleries, perhaps not whiskey distilleries, of course, but other similar distilleries, and the efforts that you've been through, and what distinguishes your distillery in terms of these efforts.
Well, there are 5 stages in producing whiskey. You've got and whiskey is a totally natural product. It's water, grains, and yeast. So the 5 stages are you will mill the grains. The second stage is you will then mash those grains, which is the conversion of the starch to fermentable sugar. You will then have the third stage, which is fermentation, where byproducts are heat and carbon dioxide. The third stage is distillation, where the alcohol leaves the still as a vapor and the wastewater exits the base of the column along with the solids. And then the fifth stage is maturation, where the spirit from distillation then goes into wood maturation for a minimum of 3 years before that spirit can be called whiskey. Our main initiatives come through mainly through the fermentation and the distillation process, where in fermentation we collect the carbon dioxide and we use it in the products within Distell, which require carbonation. And then in terms of distillation, the wastewater and solids which leave the process, the solids have always been sold off as animal feed. So that is a good source of protein because we're only removing the starch from the raw material. So it's a good source of protein for the farmers, for their cattle and animals. The wastewater is potentially incredibly dangerous for the ecosystem. Most distilleries require a lot of water, so you generally find them close to rivers. If we can put the kind of perspective on our wastewater, when the human goes to the toilet, the bathroom, then you measure the wastewater which we exit our bodies in COD, chemical oxygen demand, around about 600 to 700. The COD of the water exiting the distillation is around about 30 to 35,000 COD, which means that if that comes into contact with anything, it removes the oxygen at a rapid rate and can cause severe damage to the ecosystem of rivers and ground. So we have to carefully treat that, and we used to send it away to the municipality, where it would then go through that evaporation process in the dams. But by introducing anaerobic digestion at the start of the process, now we can actually remove over 95% of that COD. So we've taken it down from 30,000 to typically around about 1,500. And then we used to send it away to the municipality. Also at that same stage, when we initially invested in the anaerobic plant, one of the byproducts is methane gas. But we used to just flare that to the atmosphere. It was only a later project where we now collect that methane gas and put it back into our system through a methane boiler, which then saves on our carbon footprint by the amount of coal which we use normally in the process. The process of distillation is very much steam driven. Distillation is a simple process. It's the separation of alcohol from water by different boiling points. And as I mentioned, the alcohol leaving as a vapor, which then needs condensing back into a liquid, hence the need for lots of water, mainly for cooling. And then, as I said, the wastewater leaving the base of the column, which we initially just treated through the anaerobic digestion. We have now gone on to add a second stage on the water treatment, which is the installation of a reverse osmosis plant, which now takes that wastewater, which we used to send to the municipality after treatment. We now treat it ourselves through our reverse osmosis plant, which brings it down to a standard which is as good as municipal water, if not better. But we don't use it in the direct process. We use it to replace some of our water which is required for steam. Steam in our process is vital, and 1 kilogram of steam requires 1 kilogram of 1 liter of water. So by treating all of our water back to a stage where we can bring it back into the process, we're in effect saving around about 35% of our water usage on site.
So it's actually an end-to-end system that we looked at there. And obviously, other stakeholders is my system not working so well? Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear
Byron,
you.
okay, great, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, so what you're describing here, really an end-to-end series of interventions, which is really fantastic, and I'm sure that the various stakeholders of the Berg River, where you guys are positioned, must be super grateful for that, and it would have been, I dare say, because these things way predate the challenges of the Western Cape as regards water in recent years. So I dare say that those types of interventions, not only being inherently good for the environment, must have stood the business in good stead, indeed, given a degree of resilience to the business through the drought years. I mean, how does your business, you've won this award, you're clearly being positioned as a leader in this area, not only in South Africa, but globally. Do you see other distillers catching up with you? Do you see this as a trend globally, where distillers are starting to take cognizance of these issues and follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I definitely see it globally. Yes, it's. I think in the past it was a case of, your business would look at this sort of interventions and not see a return on the investment. Distell have seen it right from day one, a little bit different to that. It's been seen by us as the responsible and necessary thing to do. It's not so much about, are we going to get money out of this investment? It is just the responsible thing to do. And you're right, it was actually the drought situation in the Western Cape where the distillery was forced to close for 4 months, because we couldn't pull water from the Berg River for cooling purposes. And that was the kind of driving force to say, okay, how can we further decrease our reliability on the natural resource, and also at the same stage help prevail it. And that was when the RO plant, the reverse osmosis plant, was installed just over 3 years ago.
Right.
So yeah, and overseas, I mean, your local authorities, it's almost now non-negotiable that if you want to be on a commercial scale, the tail wags the dog. If you cannot handle your wastewater and your waste treatment, then you're not going to be in business for long.
Right. Very interesting. And you mentioned a return on investment, and we're going to chat about that in a second. But I think perhaps in some ways you've really benefited from this foresight of early managers and distillers at the plant who, as you mentioned, got in early and started making these investments. Versus someone who now needs to start from scratch. You've benefited from this legacy in many ways. That speaks to the story of whiskey, doesn't it? It speaks to this legacy of craftsmanship and stewardship and care for the product. And I think this is a very powerful association, especially globally. I'm not so sure about South African consumers. I view them as being, not really overly sensitized and responsive to these types of interventions. But let me ask you this: I mean, to what extent are you, or have you been able to tell the story to your customers? To what extent do people, enjoy your product and rejoice in the fact that they're drinking a whiskey that not only is an award-winning whiskey from a pure whiskey point of view, but also enjoys this heritage of environmental stewardship?
Yeah, I think you're right, Gordon. I mean, the rest of the world is probably a little bit ahead of us in terms of the awareness of sustainability, but it is coming more and more to the fore in South Africa. There's no doubt about that. And particular ourselves with when you win these awards, in an industry which is only 43 years old, that's how long we've been making whiskey in South Africa compared to over 500 years in Scotland and Ireland. When you win these awards, it does give you that opportunity to kind of get out there and tell people what you're doing. And with Baines, it's no different to that. It really is a case of leveraging the points and telling people that what we are doing is in a sustainable manner, and hopefully that will then encourage people to to kind of support those brands, not just our own, but any brand which is trying to do business in a responsible way.
Yeah, exactly. So to this point, you've come up with a special packaging. You've repackaged the Baines Cape whiskey that with a new packaging. It highlights this aspect. Perhaps if you've got a bottle handy, show us your normal packaging and your special packaging. Tell us a little bit about it and what your objectives are with the special packaging.
Well, this is the normal packaging which we'll see on Baines Cape Mountain Whiskey, and then in celebration of the awards, the Green Awards, we've come out with this kind of a limited pack where we've turned the classic black and white label into this green label. It's the same liquid inside, so the consumer doesn't have to worry that they're going to be getting a different version of the Baines. But yeah, it's a limited edition. It's there to raise awareness for our sustainable approach to whiskey making, and part of this campaign also includes a really feel-good element where we've partnered with a company called Green Pop, a local non-profit organization, and we're committing to planting a tree for every case of the green label Baines which is sold. And most of our stock is already out there in the market. So, we're looking early in the year to be planting around about 5,000 trees in February in the Modderfontein Reserve in Johannesburg. So yeah, it's it doesn't kind of stop with the awards. We're taking it now one step further and associating the brand with sustainability.
Oh, what a pleasure! And so, I mean, if viewers want to come and visit you in Wellington at the distillery, what can they do? Do you offer some tours there? Are you able to take them around and do whiskey tastings? Talk us through some of the consumer engagements that you've got structured.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, COVID, like most operations, has dealt dealt the distillery and the tours a bit of a body blow, like it has with the wine farms. But we've opened up again. Tours are by appointment only. You must book in advance, and that's through web tickets. So if you go onto the web tickets website and you just search for whiskey experience, then it will pop up the James Sedgwick Distillery, and you'll be able to book a time and a tour at that stage. And what it really involves is, you will come, and apart from tasting the whiskies at the end, you actually get to to go into the process itself, whether it's into the still house to see the mashing and distillation taking place, or whether it's into the the magical maturation stores where you're picking up the angel's share smell, which is that 4.5 to 5% of the alcohol which evaporates each year, which is known as the angel's share. And
Wow.
it leaves an incredible aroma inside the maturation store for the visitors. And then you'll come back to the to the brand home, and you'll enjoy tasting some of the whiskies which are produced here.
Well, what a pleasure. I'm going to make a point of bringing my wife and friends round, and especially my son. I mentioned to you off air. He's actually a great fan of your product. So we'll be coming along to do that whiskey tasting and that tour with you in the new year. So that's really all the questions that I had for you. I just want to thank you once again for joining us. It's been really fabulous. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then at the end of that, Byron will kick in and he'll close the show off for us. But in conclusion, Andy, if there's any remarks you want to make, but from my side, I'm curious to understand just what's the next step. I mean, you've won this award 2 years in a row. You've done some excellent work. What's the vision, either for the James Sedgwick Distillery or perhaps for the broader group within Distell, in terms of taking these lessons, taking this groundwork and legacy that you have, and taking it forward. Perhaps just share some of your thoughts, give us some insight into where we're going. And with that, once again, thank you, and that's all from me.
Oh, thanks, Gordon. Yeah, Distell are committed to doing business in a sustainable and responsible manner. So, even what we're doing at Wellington now is being rolled out into some of our brandy distilleries itself, with anaerobic digestion, with methane boilers, etc. But for Wellington and the whiskey distillery, I mean, we never stop. We're always looking to innovate. Awards spark interest, and especially these, the world's best awards. So it's really about, you know, creating new products. Anything we do in the future, process-wise, it will be done with, efficiency in mind, in terms of how we can cut the costs of, doing business in an irresponsible or not a healthy manner. So, going forward, possibly, electricity is one of the things we'll be looking at, in terms of trying to harness maybe some of the sun power which we have here in the country. So yeah, it's not going to stop. Every year is a different project, and whether it's in the liquid itself or on the process, that's going to be ongoing.
Insightful and excellent. As I always say each week, I enjoy these interviews. I just learn so much, and it makes me want to grab a bottle of Baines whiskey. That green bottle looks good. I don't care if it tastes a little bit different though. I like new taste.
Yeah, it's incredible because it was so well received. It's always the same when you do something. Are people going to see it, or what they're going to think about it? But this green label, and goes back to Gordon's question, I think more and more people are becoming aware in South Africa that sustainability is important.
And just from my side also, before I let you guys go, I'm just so interested. I used to be a whiskey drinker in the past. I used to drink a lot of whiskey, and you find more respect when you taste it and you drink it also, and know the hard work behind it, the different barrels, different wood behind it, and all those things also. The more you taste these whiskeys, you get to understand it, and these interviews help though. It helps further educate people also on the whiskey, not just a tot you're taking with friends. It's also the respect behind the hard work.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, 24/7 operation for many years here. So yeah, thank you for those kind words.
Okay, but gents, thank you so much. I'm gonna wrap up the show. Thank you so much for being on the platform again. So see you. To find any of the tours, should they just go on to the Distell website? Could they find it anywhere?
Well, the easy place is web tickets, the web tickets website, and just search on the whiskey experience, and that will pop up then the James Sedgwick Distillery. The distillery itself has a Facebook page, but there is more from the production side. So if people want to see what is happening at the distillery, then the Facebook page is a good place. It isn't the page which handles the tours, but they will point you in the right direction. If somebody just goes onto the Facebook page, we will help them get their way to the tours. And then, yeah, I mean, if people, the brands are both on Facebook, Twitter. They have good websites for Three Ships and Baines. And myself, I'm quite active on social media, on Twitter especially, under the Whiskey Maker handle. So, anything which happens, we like to let people know, what we're doing.
Excellent, excellent. We're all multi-streaming, so they can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at the same time. So that's also excellent. So you have to do that today in today's day and age. You have to get out there. You have to put your product out there everywhere. And this is one of the excellent product that I would love to be seen and heard. But guys, thank you so much. I don't want to elongate the interview. See you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Byron.
Dave. Thanks very much.
Enjoyed that. Enjoyed it. So insightful. I really enjoy that chat. I don't have much to say. Like I said last week also, we keep on slating the bigger companies saying they're not doing this, they're not doing that. But there, another mega company showing that they're bringing their part in sustainability. So, guys, as I say each week, greeneconomy.tv provides insights and intelligence on all sustainability related matters.